Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric from Antwerp here, and today we're going to talk about another card from the deck of brewery Het Nest. What can I say? We already talked about the brewery, but of course I will add a card here somewhere to that video. If you want to know the history or anything about the brewery, watch that video. Today we are going to talk about the beer. Why are we talking about this beer? Well, because I found this in the back of my fridge somewhere. Actually in the back of my second fridge. And I totally forgot I had this one. But I am so curious about this because I haven't tasted it before. We are talking about Schuppenaas or Ace of Spades. I don't have to tell you why I love this this name. I am a huge Motorhead fan, or at least a Lemmy fan. But the Ace of Spades is a strong blonde beer of high fermentation, and it's refermented in the bottle with a brettanomices yeast, so a wild yeast strain. Of course, we still call it a wild yeast strain, but these are all isolated yeast strains of the brettanomices variant. This should result in a quite strong, outspoken but refreshing taste and fragrance. And they hopped it with two hop variants, which they promise to be fruity and citrusy. So I have no idea which ones, but probably Citra, Amarillo, something around those kinds. I say I found this in the back of my fridge, and if we check the best before date, that would be June 2021. So this is off by a year and a half. So this is a test, and it's gonna be a surprise for me as well as for you. So yeah, let's introduce a new video here. We've had Balancing the Books, we've had brew reviews, we've had beer banter. Let's call this Will It Age? Or Does It Age? I've been thinking about this segment for a while now, and I am planning on doing some tests with older beers that I have, but of which I also have the new variant. And I'd like to pit them against each other just to see if they age well. And if they do, you guys know you can buy a crate and leave it in a garage. If they don't, drink fresh, drink fast, or buy less. So let's have a taste. They do call it a gold blonde beer with a full mouth feel. The Ace of Spades refermented with brettanomices, 6.5% ABV, so it's a strong blonde. I unfortunately don't have a glass from brewery Het Nest, but this is the exact same model, so yeah, still happy with my trusted tasting glasses. It is still very active, a lot of carbonation, even some foam forming in the neck of the bottle, so that's always a good sign. And I do get that very typical brettanomices scent, that fragrance. If you've ever had an Orval, that smell. Now there is quite a bit of yeast left in the bottom, so let's try to not wake it up and have a nice, careful, even pour. I do have the feeling that this beer has darkened over time, because it's no longer a blonde, it actually became a bit of a amber beer. It's also so active that I can't fit the whole bottle into the glass without it overflowing. So it is a beautiful, beautiful gold amber color. Some off-white foam here, leaning towards beige. Quite dense foam. Some lovely, lovely bubbling, very, very active purling from the bottom towards the top. Of course, the other way around would be ridiculous. This isn't a great frenzied giant. But then again, yeah, lovely beer. I do get a gradient in the foam here. So there are some larger bubbles, darker in color, near the top. And here where the fresh bubbles arrive, they're much smaller, tinier, much denser, and a bit lighter in color. So that's interesting. I did have a careful pour because it's quite clear. It's actually very clear. Again, I'm still amazed by that color. And I really love that brettanomices fragrance, that bread smell, and not the bad kind, not the morning bread smell, but the beer bread smell. So I did have a tiny speck of yeast there. Nonetheless, yeah, let's have a taste. I'm very curious for this one. A not too strong 6.5% ABV mixed fermentation beer. I have good news for you guys. It did age well. I think that it's no coincidence that this smells like an Orval. I actually think that this, many homebrewers try to clone the Orval, and I think this is as close as it gets to the original, although it is a bit fresher, a bit more refreshing, let's say, a bit more citrusy. And I think that might be because of the hops they've used. But for all intents and purposes, this is a lovely mixed fermentation beer. This actually tastes like a very, very young Orval. Even despite the aging. It does have a very heavy side taste. In the good way, mind you. So I actually think that this is a very good replacement for when you can't find Orval in the store. Now, apart from comparing this to Orval, this is a very beautiful, very well-made beer with a very strong taste, yet very refreshing, quite citrusy, quite fruity indeed, so as they promised. Absolutely lovely, quite unique, because I know I've been comparing this for the last 4 minutes or so. Nonetheless, it is a very seldomly found taste, an acquired taste as well. Also a very hard thing to pull off. Mixed fermentation beers, yeah, it's not easy. It takes time, it takes knowledge, it takes a lot of skill. And I must say that I'm very proud of Het Nest that this actually worked out. And even for someone as stupid as me to leave it in the fridge for 1.5 years. There we go. And that's yeast. We're not doing that. I poured in a tiny bit of yeast, so it's a lot murkier now. Slightly more bitter, nonetheless still very, very refreshing. And I think that it's remarkable how they succeeded in making a beer with a heavy brettanomices taste and still very refreshing, very very lively, very fruity as well. So even in the aftertaste I get a lot of bitterness, probably from the hops, from the brettanomices yeast, but also a heavy grapefruit taste, which is also citrusy, a lot of zest, which makes it a lot more pleasant, a lot more refreshing. When drinking this beer, I actually feel like throwing a marinated steak on the grill and maybe enjoying this over an open fire with some friends. So yeah, absolutely great. I should probably score this, and I think I'm gonna give this beer, just because it's so unique and it actually marks all the spots. Yeah, let's call this a 4, an 8 out of 10, seal of approval. I think this is so well made. Even if it's not for you, you have to acknowledge that this is a very well made beer, an absolutely lovely beer. All of you guys just run out and try it. I am gonna leave it at that. As usual, thank you so much for watching and bearing with me. Like I said, run to your local beer store, have one of these. Let me know what you think of it. If you have any questions, remarks, suggestions, if you want to see more of this Does It Age, yeah, let me know. I can think of some beers that I'm doing this segment with. And as usual, if you want to see more, subscribe, hit that bell icon, mark all for notifications, and you'll get notified when I upload something. Cheers, you guys. See you in the next one.